everybody. Glad everybody could be here. Oh man. Okay. So I was futzing with a few things. I had to restart Streamlabs because it was being naughty and having issues as per the usual. So hope everyone's having a good day. I'm going to move. There we go. I'm going to give myself a little more real estate on the bit there, so show everything that's going on. Thank you all for being here. Okay, I need to move that up off of there. There we go. Okay. Sorry. You'd think after a month I'd have all this down, but as you will find out, in the course of about 8 years, if you talk to Mr. Betcher or Miss Berlin, I must have changed our audio setup at least, 8, 9 times, and I don't even have to deal with the video part. That was fairly, easy in terms of everything. So, just as a heads up, I'd like to thank our new followers. We have a couple, NIM6, N3M6, and Tomcat. Thank you both for joining, as well as Dark Spider and EXCS_. We are the Breaking Down Security Twitch stream and podcast, for those of you who are unaware. If you are following along, because our tweet encouraged you to join us, if you're looking and interested in all facets of security, welcome. We're all noobs here, so there are no wrong answers there are no wrong questions. There are wrong answers. Hopefully we'll stop those as soon as we can. I'd like to thank everybody who's joined so far. I'm showing, so the configuration's a little different this week on the video as well, because we are, that was a shock to me when I installed Kali. I have decided as part of, I've been doing this for over a month now, and it's one of those things where I need to figure out where we are in regards to the schedule and how we're going to do things. Historically, Sunday evenings has been our podcast time, and I probably need to go fix that on the calendar to make sure that we are solid with everybody, and they're not going to show up at 6:30 expecting to see people or things. So I've been working on getting a regular schedule down of an hour and a half to 2 hours, because I don't know if people actually enjoy watching this for hours on end. I'm sure it's educational, but, I see some of these folks that, it's easy to play video games for hours on end and do something, but at some point it's like, do I want to water down the content here, or to make it so that, it's just 3 hours of discussing hacking. I honestly, I'm carrying the stream for the majority myself, and want to make sure that people are getting value. So, if you're finding value in these streams, I'd love to get feedback. If you are following and have been following, very much appreciated. So, I've been jumping around a little bit between Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, and last night I started playing around a little bit with the OSCP stuff, and only because I know that a lot of people are like, I've seen on several Discords, I've seen on several Slacks, I've seen on several Twitters, hey, is there a study group for this? I really want to get into InfoSec, but I don't know how to do so. So I'm going to start going through the cheapest possible way of doing this. It is the cheapest in many respects. Of course, a lot of folks don't have the licenses for some of these applications, like VMware. Turn on performance mode just to make sure I'm not burning up my network. So there are a number of blogs out there, and let me bring up the website. So there's a number of blogs out there, including, I believe, TJ Nulls was one. This is, TJ Nulls, which is the first one I found when I was researching, and it's the one that I have kind of always followed along with, and I think a lot of people have tended to kind of build upon that. So without having to pay the $1,000 or so for a full amount of lab time, there are a ton of vulnerable VMs out there which you can use that have analog lessons in this case. Some of the things that you'll need to understand and learn to build up your knowledge base, your skills, so that when you do finally start the OSCP, you'll have an understanding of things. You don't want to walk into a test unprepared. So these VMs, these vulnerable VMs, these various systems are designed to have challenges that are analogous to what you might see on the OSCP exam. Now, I'm not saying that what we will be going through on these is exactly what you see there, but there is a number of applicable sites out there, and TJ Null's blog post is really good, even though it's from 2019. Actually, it's almost 2 years ago or 3 years ago today. On his experiences. Well, I say his because I'm sorry. TJ Null's experience. I'm just going to assume TJ Null is, unless I see any pronouns or anything. There's a number of things mentioned on how to get ready. It looks like Abache. I mentioned Abache in the Twitch as well, from 2017. How to prepare for OSCP as well. Ray Bango, good dude. Met him. He's pretty awesome. So, of course, the blog post was approved at the time by Offensive Security, and if you want to and take the time to review it and read it, let me add this to the bit there. There are. I actually went online because this is almost 3 years old, like we said, and I wanted to make sure that the specifications, the things mentioned in here that he says OSCP and OffSec is looking for is still applicable. So if you go in here, this is the Pen Test 200, which is the OSCP exam guide. This is on their website. They talk about the exam requirements. There's 3 independent targets and 1 Active Directory set, which is 2 clients and 1 domain controller. You can go look for additional information there. They talk about exploit code. If you were, skilled enough to make your own exploit or modify an existing one, you can, supply the code there. And they'd like for you, if you have, modified an exploit, you can, contact them and provide that code because, it's going to be part of your report, right? Like I use this code, I use this exploit to do so. So exam proofs, they talk about the various things with regards, on Windows targets, you must have a shell running with permissions, receive full points, either, so you must have system, admin, or user with admin privilege. On Linux targets, you must have a root shell. So on some of the boxes, they have a local.txt and a proof.txt. Those are the flags that you would find, which is a hash. So it's a specific hash for that device. So you can enter those hashes. Screenshot requirements. So if you have a screenshot, this is where I was talking about, I don't know, at some point we talked about GreenShot and easy ways of making screenshots. I use GreenShot, but I think somebody else had mentioned another tool that's Linux based. But having screenshots of those is often helpful. You can't just necessarily copy paste or what have you. And the exam restrictions were always really, really problematic for me because I had assumed that you could not use Metasploit, Burp Pro. So you're not going to be able to, if you have a Burp Professional version, you're not going to be able to use it on this, which is kind of telling. So what it says is you don't need the pro version of Metasploit. You don't need the pro version of Burp. You don't need Core, Canvas, Saint, paid software to actually defeat the tools and to get OSCP, which kind of mimics what we, with the example of like, Cobalt Strike or what have you. But the point is that you don't need to pay for tools to make it happen. The important thing is for you not to go into the test unaware of how the tools work. Like, oh, it's the day of the test and I'm going to, install this tool. I'm going to make it work and it's going to happen. It's going to be awesome. You're just adding to your stress in that respect. So the idea is that you've prepped, you've learned things, and it says here you may use tools like Nmap, Nikto, Burp-Free, Durbuster, etc. against any of your targets, and they have a different FAQ for that as well. So the Metasploit restrictions, Pro is not allowed, but they do have some restrictions on how you can use the free version, which comes in Kali, the free version, if you want to install it. So use of Meterpreter payloads, you may only use the Metasploit module's auxiliary exploit and post, or the Meterpreter payload against one single target machine of your choice. So that's pretty much, if you're absolutely stuck, you can go in to Meterpreter and find, use the payload against, against one machine. So it's kind of your ace in the hole. If you know that there's something definitely you can do to get shell on that box, and that is, you want to save that, because if you just use it to get a single box and then you're stuck later and you know that there was something in there you could have used, you're going to be SOL. You'll have to find another way around. So, so they go into a lot of this stuff. I always found it kind of confusing, so I always tried to do the lab stuff without Meterpreter or Metasploit. My problem was I had a lack of people who were available to help, and at the time they had an IRC channel, and nobody in there was very helpful. So take that as what you will. Hopefully in the last 3-4 years the community has gotten less shitty, and you don't have a bunch of try hard bros in there talking about, well, you should try harder or whatever. Doesn't make for a positive experience in that respect. So I'm hoping that my audio is working. Okay, so I'm talking and I see the output on my screen here, so that must be nice. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, sometimes it feels like I'm talking to myself, which in more cases than one it is. So, all right. So, they mentioned the use of OpenVPN. I mean, you should be very familiar with all of these tools by the time you go and take the exam. The exam connection string for your OVPN is there. I'm going to switch off this. You have the link in the exam guide if you want to go check that out, if this is something that's interesting to you. So there was TJ Nulls prep guide. The other one I found really great was Ranakhalil's. Where's hers? There it is. Ranakhalil's blog post on it. Rana is also she does a lot of the burp. She's done a lot of the Burp Suite Academy videos as well, which is pretty awesome. I'd really like to have her on the show to talk about her experiences with this. So she did her write-up for OSCP. Seriously? Okay. I should not have clicked on that, but so she actually had gone through Hack the Box, and she had found 40 or TJ Null, and she'd found this list on Hack the Box machines. There are 47 that TJ Null had used, and that's great, but again, it's like not everybody has the ability to be on Hack the Box for a subscription fee. Some of these may be free, some of them may not be, some of them may be retired by now. So what I thought we would do is start with some of the VulnHub stuff mentioned in TJ Null's blog post, which is scroll. where are the machines? Yeah, Bandit's a good one. War games, head-on challenges, those are awesome. Natas is another good one. That's a good thing to run through. Under the Wire, that's the PowerShell stuff. Oh, rootme.org. Ooh, okay. That's pretty nice. That's an interesting one. rootme.org. Is it still available? Oh, yeah. Let's convert that to English. But yeah, appreciate that. Affordable way, fast, easy, affordable way to. Yeah. I mean, I guess if you wanted to, you could always, ask you have a training budget at your workplace. You could always ask for, them to pay for your access to Hack the Box, and then you could just use the 47 boxes that Rana had mentioned, and you can do that. Let me see, where are those boxes? Capture the flags. Yeah, so these the OSCP like VMs. You can find them here and check out IPv6 playlist he created from the list I recommend to start watching. So yeah, there's a number of them. Apologies for some of the language and some of the writing. That'll come in today as well. Oh yeah, here we go. So everything highlighted in pink. So no, that's good. Damn it. Okay. So we got Kioptrix level 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 2014, Fristy Leaks 1.3, and then there's a ton of these. So they're a great way of, finding a way to move, through these. Once you get through these, then the idea is you feel more confident doing the actual OSCP lab time, which costs you money, and you have to use it within a certain amount of time, or you lose that money, and you lose that time, which is another thing you have to think of. Once you start on this path, you have 60 days, and if you don't use that 60 days, then you've lost that time. So these allow for more flexibility. If you can't solve Kioptrix in a week, or if you can't solve these, or something happens where you are busy at work and can't get back to it for a week, you haven't lost any money. You just lost, time working on these various VMs. So without further ado, so the Kioptrix ones, which is the first one on pretty much all of the lists that you go look at. Kioptrix is one of the ones that you'll find if you go to VulnHub Kioptrix. All right, so it's VulnHub. There it is. It's been downloaded a few times. So the other good thing about these is they're very well. There are a ton of walkthroughs for these, and we're not going to cheat as well, unless we get completely stuck. And considering my try hack me and hack the box stuff, that may be a little painful. But ideally, these are well documented walkthroughs. One or more of these will have answers to various things. The one thing I have found about Kioptrix is that there's, at least the number one, is that there's more than one way to solve this series of devices, or this series of VMs. So I have had VMware for a while. One of the things that I was trying to do when I downloaded Kioptrix was to convert them to VirtualBox, which is free VM tools, or Hyper-V, which comes with Windows. I was not successful in either venture. And in this case, Kioptrix is a VMware item, and it is a fairly old version of VMware, to the point where I was having trouble actually making it work. There was a lot of discussion online about, hey, I downloaded Kioptrix and I can't get an IP address. And everybody's like, well, if you just try X, Y, and Z, blah, de, blah, de, blah. And, I did not see a good answer. And I ended up having to try to figure it out myself, which I think I did. I've actually done it twice now, and I think I recreated it. So best thing I would say is to use, torrent to download it. It was a lot faster than trying to download it directly from their site. Your mileage may vary if you don't feel safe using torrents. This is a perfectly legitimate reason to use BitTorrent in that case. There are, other ways of getting it. So, yeah. All right, so let me go in here. So yeah, what I thought we would do for this OSCP study group, and I'm hoping that we'll get more people than just the handful of folks that are here either lurking or botting, because Streamlabs and Stream Elements are on here, so they're lurking. I see Angel is lurking and YTT Retro is lurking. Hello, y'all. Thank you for sticking with me here. I can guarantee you that you will see less flailing on this one. I'm not going to be doing these every day. I think we'll probably, I'm working on a schedule where we'll probably, like, either Saturday or Sunday will be the OSCP study guide day or study group day. Tell your friends if they're interested in doing that and following along, and they don't have lab time, or they don't want to waste their lab time doing that. So, all right, so I downloaded. Let me pull it up. All right, so seriously, what was that? Oh, this would be a bad time for my desktop to die on me. Okay, so I see the downloads file, so we will double click on that. And so I use, 7-zip. I use pzip, which will automatically, pull that down for us. Let me see, minimize that. All right, so for those of you who download Kioptrix and I can't get an IP address, it doesn't work for me, why do you hate me? Don't worry, I'm going to delete the Kioptrix one that I have on my desktop. I'm just sharing my entire desktop at this point, so there we go. All right, so I'm going to extract. Actually, I'm just going to minimize that for a second. I'm just going to click and drag this into our directory structure here. Okay, there it is. All right, so I can close that. I'm going to open this up, and what you'll see is a handful of let me see. This is what I get. There we go. Okay, so trying to shrink everything up here. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have a so these are the 5 files. This is like NVRAM. This is the actual, for all intents and purposes, the device itself. I need to, all right, close that. There we go. So the VMX file is the one that we're going to be editing, and you can edit it in Notepad, and it's great. Now, the one thing you'll notice, god damn, seriously, is that it is fairly old version. So they mention this is on VMware 7, virtual hardware version, VMware 7. And the issue is that it has an old adapter. So even if you tried to copy it in, it fails. And then people complain, had issues with it. So all I've done, and you can just edit this because it's a plain old text file. I went in and I deleted everything having to do that says Ethernet on it. So, and that's how you're going to get this to work, because I haven't even opened it in VMware yet. I just, exploded the RAR file out. So I delete everything having to do with the networking portion, because the one thing I noticed was I drag it into VMware. I would delete the adapter. I would, go in, I would modify, the adapter settings from bridge to NAT, because that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a NATed setting, because that's where my Kali is. I don't want it sitting on my network at large. And it would automatically go back to bridged. So I saw some other tutorials that were like, oh, go in at your VM file and remove, just change all the bridge to NATEDs. And I was like, okay, I tried that and it didn't work. So about an hour ago, I just decided, well, I'm going to delete everything having to do with networking out of the device. And for good measure, I also did this here. I just turned this to false because I was like, I don't need the thing reminding me to install VMware tools because I won't have this on this long. So I'll also remove the generated address. And what else? Let's see. Any other Ethernet related items? I don't think so. I think that was everything. Okay. So now all you have to do is save. File, save. All right. And I'm going to open up VMware Workstation. I'm going to minimize that and make it less full screeny. I'm going to close this. And so these are the 5 files you need. The one thing I did try to do was I was like, oh, it's not beefy enough. I need to make it more beefy because more beefy is more gooder, or whatever, and so I gave it like an extra processor and about 256 gig of RAM and whatever. You don't need to do that. As a matter of fact, it makes it run worse if you try to add a different processor and add more memory. Don't know why. It just does. You can add a description if you'd like. This is I already have one. So like I was, cooking or something, I have a backup Kioptrix that I actually rooted last night because I was playing around with stuff, but I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of what we were doing on this. And if anybody has any questions about setup or anything like this, this is a VMware Workstation 16. I actually did not realize if I had a version of it. I had uninstalled it for a while because I had no need for VMware at the time. So, all right, so we're good. No updates, but it is 16.2.3 latest build. I've had it since like VMware 12. The good thing about VMware Workstation, at least the Windows license, is the Windows license also works on the Linux side. So you're really getting 2 OSs for the price of one, and I think it's like $199. That's really the only cost we're having to incur here. Other VMs might actually work in VirtualBox, but there are a number of them on VulnHub's site that are VMware, and Microsoft did have a conversion tool that they actually sunset back in 2019. You can still download it, and I think it will convert things, but it's a bit on the janky side. I would not. I'm not sure if it would actually do the newer stuff. I mean, your mileage may vary. There's a Starwinds or something like that has a conversion tool that will convert OVF to like Hyper-V or VHD or VHDX. But it looked a little fly-by-nighty, if you know what I mean. I'm sure it's legitimate software, but it was not giving me a warm feeling thinking about, registering for the free version. So as you can see, after adding it to VMware, there is no networking device on here. So what I've gone and done, what you need to do is go into, and you can see it's now doing a bunch of stuff on the back end here. There we go. All right, so you need to add a network adapter. It's so much easier now. When I was using this, I don't know, a couple years ago, you had to decide what adapter you wanted to. Oh no, wait, was that VirtualBox? Yeah, I think it might be VirtualBox that was that way, but the adapters were a bit janky. So network adapter, I set it for NAT because I want this to be isolated. It'll still have internet access, but I don't want it on my larger network because I have work devices. And I mean, it's just a good practice for vulnerable VMs, or if you're going to be doing things like, I don't know, malware analysis or what have you, to isolate those things as much as possible. So the other good thing is I'm running VM Workstation and Streamlabs on the same box, and my laptop does not sound awful, which that's amazing to me. Back in the day, anytime I would run a VM, it would always sound like freight trains. So they've done a lot to make it less trashy. So if you really want to get into networking, you can specify a specific network that you want to hook it up to. If you've got, subnets or something, or you want to run this on another box and do whatever, you can do that too. It's entirely possible. I just kind of keep it. I believe the IP address will be a 192.168.164, I believe, address network. So we'll see what happens here. Hey, GoPro Slow Yo. Thank you. Yeah, GoPro. We're I don't know if you just got here or not, but yeah, we're I decided it makes sense to kind of start structuring my streams so that people have an idea of what we're going to be doing on each day. I saw that with Taggart the other day. MT Taggart, he was like, Wednesday nights is our code development shop, and I was like, okay, great, and I don't want to keep jumping back and forth like, people are expecting to do Hack the Box tonight when we're going to be doing some of this or something like that. So he's a wizard, Harry. Yeah, exactly. GoPro. That he is dialed in. He I know that there are people like full stack engineers actually call themselves full stack engineers, but he knows a lot about a lot, and makes me feel bad. I would be more than honored to be his TPM and be his project manager and just manage that talent, because that's what I do now. But yeah, he's pretty awesome. So, but yeah, I was trying to show people, because Kioptrix has, at least Kioptrix 1 has a problem with IP address range or getting an IP address, which people seem to complain about a lot on the internet if you do any searches for it. So I was just showing people how to do that. Basically, I edited the VMX file and removed any. No, sadly, DEF CON, I am not going to be able to make it. I will be in Europe, hopefully, if Europe is not a cinder, burnt to a cinder because of war. I will be on a cruise to Iceland and Scotland and Amsterdam. So we're going to be taking our family cruise, the last one we're going to have before we move to San Diego. It is much better. I will be completely isolated from the rest of the world, because Holland America does not have internet that is fast, at least on the new ships. I don't know. But yeah, it'll be the last cruise before we move to San Diego, last family cruise. And I'll be in San Diego, so I'm only, a 3-hour drive or a 45-minute Southwest Airlines flight to Vegas. So it may be, Starlink would definitely be an option if they would let me hook it up. I don't know if that would interfere with any kind of, any of the nautical stuff that's going on. Some of the cruise ships do a better job of high-speed internet, like Royal Caribbean uses a satellite constellation in low Earth orbit, and I was actually able to, sadly, use my Surface Pro at the time to stream a NASCAR race for my mother-in-law and her friend for 3 hours at high definition. So there are satellite systems out there that are like Starlink that will handle high-speed internet connections. Holland America obviously caters to a different kind of clientele, and so they still have like where you pay per minute to do the stuff. I think the idea is that they don't want to have to upgrade their ships or whatever. But yeah, England. We're going to do Scotland. We're going to do a day and a half, I think, in Amsterdam, and then we're going to the Netherlands as well. Norway. Doing a day in Norway. So yeah, it's good times. So, but anyway, so yeah, edit the VMX file, remove all instances of Ethernet. Then you can add it back once you get it into the VMware 16. And once you've done that, you can power it on. Say that you've copied the VM over. And I will make this a little larger. You are a bastard. There we go. No, there we go. And then, boink. All right, so it's loading up. It's enabling swap space. It's going to check for new hardware, and this is where you come up with. That was super simple. Okay, bringing up the interface. It found an IP address immediately. Great. Okay, that was even better than what happened before. So before it was like, oh, you want to scan for new hardware or whatever, and then it would go into the kudzu thing where it was like, hey, do you want to save your network connections and settings and stuff? But yeah, deleting all of the Ethernet bits out of the VMX is the best way. I probably, you know what, I don't know how much. I actually think I'm going to go back in and set a. I'm going to create a clip of me just editing all the stuff out of the VMX file, so that way we can say, oh, I've solved the problem, and I'll put it on YouTube and it'll get millions of hits or something. It'll go viral. I don't know, or it won't. You know, that kind of thing. So this is up and running. So the first thing that I did when I went through, and this is just a trash email or trash password that I use for my, there we go. All right, so this is no longer applicable because I used a different system. All right, so for my VM, the hell? Oh, we bears babies. So the IP address of this VM for my Kali instance is 192.168.164.129. So what I need to do, Control-Shift-T. One of the things you need to learn with the terminal is how to bring up a new tab real quick. Is Control-Shift-T. Very much how, it's similar to how the browser works, except it brings back the old tab. So there's a number of ways that you can find other devices on your network. You can use Nmap. Several of the walkthroughs I saw after the fact suggested using NetDiscover, which I never actually used because it does require root. You can probably use Nmap, do a port scan for port 80 or 22 because you know that there's a device on the network and it is a Linux box, so it's going to use 80, 443, and 22. Because you have to be able to get to it somehow. So, sorry about that. But, I mean, you can definitely use NetDiscover if you want to, and it's fairly quick. So, the -R in this case says set the remote or set the range of IP addresses you want to use, and you want to use this with the CIDR notation. So, 192.168.164.0/24 is basically 254 addresses or 256 addresses from 0 to 255 or 254 in this case. So it'll scan everything in this IP range because that's the NAT range right now for my box. And then put in my password. And it's going to start scanning. Okay, so you discount the 1 and the 2 for whatever reason they exist on there. I'm not sure what they're for. The 254 is not an IP address that has anything on it either, which leaves us the 128 address, which is the system in this case. And remember, take copious amounts of screenshots. So, you can take a screenshot. I'm using GreenShot again for those of you looking. You can just take a nice quick screenshot. That way you can keep track of what you're doing up to this point, how you discovered, what the MAC address was of the system in question, and what have you. What am I taking notes in? Oh God, that is a good question because I have not started taking notes yet. There was a. Let me see. Somebody suggested Cherry Tree, OSCP Cherry Tree, and the problem was when I was here you go, OSCP templates. So yeah, here's an example, and you can go check that out. Boink. Yeah, I mean it really. Notion like a markdown editor or something? Notion, one workspace error team. Okay. Okay. So does it only work for Mac OS? Cross-platform. Okay. Yeah. See, my thing was everybody was like, "Oh, use Cherry Tree. It's so awesome, and it has rich text and da 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 da." I was using Mac OS at the time, and their port of it to Cherry Tree's port to Mac OS was trash, and that's when I started looking at like Atom.io, I was looking at VS Code, and that actually started me learning Markdown, which I can work through it. I'm not proficient with it, but I'm telling you, Taggart's a scary person. C2 framework out of it. You can make a C2 framework out of anything that has integrations in it or makes API calls or whatever. So C2 is just, if you can link to it, then you can make a C2 out of it, because then you can say, oh yeah, see, there you go. Yeah, so note-taking app is a C2. Yeah, if you can give it an IP address, then you can, or a link, you can give it. You can make it a C2. I think, because all you have to do is, run the link, and then parse out whatever it is you want to do, and then say execute, this bit of text that it finds. So yeah, it's fairly nice. Oh, very cool. Yeah, oh my God, how many Markdown editors did I try at one time? Because I was doing this because I went to Atom, Atom.io. That one's fun. I had progressed beyond Sublime Text and all those other Notepad++. I mean, I wouldn't say note taking systems are as religious as VI versus Emacs, but you definitely get folks that like what they like. They like Atom. They like VS Code. Visual Studio Code. It's another IDE. It's got a lot of plugins and stuff that you can use with it. Some of depending on your notes. Yeah, exactly. It can be a holy war. But yeah, I mean, I think for note taking, just use what works for you. And like I said, take a lot of screenshots. And I have no idea how people do the reports, if they save themselves 8 hours to do the reports, or if they start writing as soon as they or as they're going along. I don't know if it's an iterative process, which makes more sense. Like, I gained root on this box by doing X, Y, and Z, and you give yourself 20 minutes to 30 minutes to kind of take those notes, because at the end of 23 hours you're going to be like, I can't remember what I did in hour one. So I would assume that you would want to do it like an iterative process. Like, I got root on this box by doing X, Y, and Z. Here's the screenshots. You may want to, take the file names or whatever and take screenshots of, take the screenshots and import them in. Document as you go makes sense. Yeah. If you need to go back and retake notes or redocument, you might screw yourself over by having to repeat steps or react. Exactly. 100%. That makes sense. And it's an arduous, I've heard it, and it's a 24-hour exam. So, which means there should be times during that 24 hours you should be sleeping. But the important thing is to, take as many breaks as possible. And yeah, grab Notion or grab whatever it is that you take notes with, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Atom, Cherry Tree, if you want to use that. There's also a number of Markdown editors you could use if you want to use that, if you think it might be easier to format your report. I think OSCP may have a reporting template as well. But yeah, I mean, at least if you take copious amounts of screenshots and you forget something or you lose a command or something like that, you may want to grab your bash history as well, or ZSH history, whatever that is. You might want to copy that as well. That way you can go back and see what you've done in case you accidentally nuke something. But yeah, there's just whatever works for you. And if it's one of these things where if you don't make it through the first time, there are a ton of people online who talk about how they've didn't pass the first time. Oh, hello everybody. Cheeto Bandito, how you doing? ST Mitch 43L. I hope that's, yeah. I'm not up on my lead speak, but yeah, I mean, there as many. Let me see there. See, everybody has Cherry Tree templates. Here's an OSCP cheat sheet, including a Cherry Tree notebook. Jplin. Yeah, somebody had mentioned Jplin. I don't know why people want Cherry Tree so much. I don't know what the deal is with that. Maybe Cherry Tree is what's installed on Kali. Maybe that's why they use it. I don't know. I seem to remember that was one reason why I found it. But yeah, that may be thing. But as many OSCP, hey, I passed OSCP blogs there are, everybody has a different way of doing notes. So the important thing is during this study group, or your lab time with OSCP and the OffSec folks, find out what works for you and what works logically for you, because people are going to learn differently. They're going to track notes differently. If you are a consultant right now, you may have to unlearn some things, or whatever current workflow you use for an engagement might be exactly what you're looking for. You may use a Word doc. I don't know, just whatever you're comfortable with and doing. Is what you should do. But there's a whole Reddit based on OSCP out there that I'm sure people are either, showing their clout. Hey, I passed it, or hey, I didn't pass it. Any ideas for, well, obviously, yeah. So nothing from the course worked. See, failed first attempt, passed the exam. Pen testing an external machine, failed with 60 points, and here are my notes so you won't make the same mistakes again. So there's spoiler alerts in there. When I first started the Slack channel, the first thing we put in was a general chat. The second thing people wanted was an OSCP channel for an OSCP, and I was like, maybe we shouldn't do that, because I was worried about not being able to keep track of it and people posting spoilers, or hey, this machine you got to do X, Y, and Z to do, and I was like, I just don't want to piss off the OffSec folks about that. Things have gotten a little better, I guess. Hey, GoPro, sounds like you may have done this in the past few years. What was your thought about the camera issue? Because I do remember it being a bit of a kerfuffle when people were like, I don't want to be watched while I'm pen testing. Well, did you have to deal with any of that? Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry, I will never take the OSCP. How so? How come? I do not believe in certs. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, that is an opinion that a lot of people in InfoSec hold. That is good. That is yes. I completely understand where you're coming from. I have a lot of people that I follow on Twitter that feel very much the same way. So, yeah. For me, my certs that I have, they're none of them. I mean, I have GWAP and I've taken those, but they were how I felt I could open doors and get past the HR screen, because I'm not really good at that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get you past HR, right? Yeah. And then there's some groups of people that already have two strikes against them because either of their, you look around and you're an underrepresented group or what have you, and I see a lot of folks from underrepresented groups and if you write a good resume, then you can write your ticket anywhere. I've seen people with no pen testing experience, and they're like, and I have interviewed these folks before, or I have seen people with these resumes, and I'm like, well, how do you, what do you do in your off time? Because your resume doesn't say that you're a pen tester. It doesn't say you do these things. Do you have a GitHub or something like that? And then like, oh yeah, I probably should mention that. And oh yeah, I have this black badge from the DEF CON CTF or the Black Hat CTF, and I was like, see, wait. You've completely buried the lead here by having a black badge from passing the the CTF. I have a couple of friends like that have a lot of alphabet soup after their name. I worry about my friend. I haven't actually met him, talked to him in a few years, but if you go on LinkedIn, he's one of those folks that's got like all of the things after his name on there. I did that for a little while when I got my CISP, only because I was trying to woo recruiters and stuff. Working in the government space, the government, the Govy recruiters like to see the CISP. So, but yeah, had several. I didn't know how to tell him. He'd had about 8 years in and had about I would say, about 10 to 15 certs. And I'm like, how are you getting all of those? Or, how do you actually, what do you get out of those? That's the one thing I was trying to get from him. But my CISP was a requirement for government work, and I just haven't seen a reason to let it lapse yet. So your mileage may vary. But yeah, so between the ones that we're going to do and these 47-ish ones that TJ Null has a list of, I think we're, hopefully by the end of this, if you actually make it all the way through with me on these systems, maybe I'll decide to take the OSCP, or, by the time you get through the Kioptrix and the list of vulnerable VMs, you may feel confident enough to go ahead and kick it out. So. I feel that. I feel that, GoPro. I definitely feel like you might have a bit of an opinion. So, yeah. Yeah. Let me see. Okay, so, yeah, I'm going to hold on to that. Yeah. Okay. All right, let me minimize this. All right. Oh, it locked on me. Damn. Okay. All right, so the one thing I want to remind people before I go in is I am rusty. I'm learning as much as you are learning as well. I did take a little time last night to actually reroute the Kioptrix one that I had done, I don't know, years ago. It's still the same. Thankfully, the answer was the same for me. So, but if anybody has any questions and are here, feel free to ask. So the VM is up. It's right there. Ideally, by the end of this, we should be able to log in here as root in this case. And I do tend to say root because trees have roots, trucks have ruts, and you get root on a system. That's my Midwestern upbringing. Apologies. All right. So what we need to do now is do an Nmap scan or do some kind of network. I'm okay. All right. I've seen that emote on more than one Twitch stream. So that person is very, very what do we call that? Popular. Definitely a viral emote there. All right. So what we're going to do is one of the things that you need to do for these systems, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to rabbit hole, but this is using pen testing methodology, but it's not going to be how you approach every pen test. CTFs, vulnerable VMs, OSCP has a methodology that they use for things. They tend to try to use the PTES framework, which is doing recon, interrogating systems either passively or actively. But you're gonna have a playbook that you're gonna use for these systems, at least for the reconnaissance side. Once you get this down, that you're gonna run these 4, 5, 6 commands all at the same time because you want to glean as much information as you can in the time that you have. In this case, it may be auto discovery. You may just decide to run a damn Nmap scan across the entire network at T5 aggressive, blowing up the network because, this is your own computer, so you're only hurting yourself. So that's not what I wanted. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start. Let me grab a, we're going to go ahead and grab a Nmap here. So as you can see, I've already been playing around with this a little bit. I still have, I'm a little uncertain as to the shell that we're using. I'm not a fan of the super autocomplete on this. This is again one thing I have with Kali. I mean, I appreciate the need to fill things in, but so when I ran the Nmap scan the first time, you can run. So the -p- is pretty much check every port that you can. that checks, I believe, all the TCP ports. There are OffSec labs where you might actually want to do a UDP scan. The problem is UDP scans take a long time unless you set some kind of timeout or something like that. Yeah, GoPro. I have used like Oh My Z or so Cheeto Bendito. I actually don't know how you see lurkers. I see all the users in chat, and I see Angel, I see GoPro Slowyo, I see YTT Retro, our good friend there. For me, I just click on the users in chat next to Stream Chat. I don't know if everybody has the same or a different UI for that. Chatterino, is that a plugin? See, I'm learning stuff today. Probably a plugin. I have seen so many plugins in the last few days for Twitch and Twitch streams and what have you. Okay, so you can see the users in chat. Okay, and I didn't know lurking was a thing. I didn't know why people would want to have a lurking bit there. So, yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna move along here with our discussion. Does anybody have any questions thus far? I don't I don't want to presume that everybody is up to speed and where we're at. If anybody's trying to follow along with us, that's great. If you don't have VMware Workstation, that might be a barrier because son of a bitch. One of these days. So yeah, converting VMware image to VBox. I mean, there are tools out there, but going to sites like Make Tech Easier just kind of, this is from 2016. So yeah, I mean, there are ways of doing it somewhat, but yeah, see, there's the OVF tool where you can convert things to VirtualBox. I can't guarantee that it's going to work, but there is a way of converting these OVFs. It may give you a warning a couple of times on the let me put this in here. Be careful. I've never liked sites that like Make Tech Easier, but that is definitely a thing you could use, the OVF tool. I did install VirtualBox because I was like, oh, I'll just, import it or what have you. But yeah, it will show you what's going on. Actually, I may try this later tonight just for shits and giggles to see if it'll actually convert to VMware VBox, because I want to make sure that people who are wanting to do this, $200 is nothing for me, only because I've been in the industry for 25 years and I make fairly decent money. For somebody else, $200 is a lot of money. So I just want to make it as easy as possible and as cheap as possible for somebody to, follow along and learn and be educated. So, so yeah, there's, and I'm glad that Hyper-V does not screw with the system there. So, oh, thank you, GoPro. Appreciate that. All right, so. There are tools that you're going to use here. As you can see, there are a number of ports that are open. One of the things that the blog posts, all of them said, is you're going to do a lot of research on these things. So for those of you who are aware, 22 is, of course, SSH. SSH is running on the box, and it is open. You can actually SSH... Oh yeah, see, that was me. I'd already gone in and edited the user and logged in and done that. So there's spoiler alert. There are 2 users on the Kioptrix box in addition to root, one of them being John. But you can SSH to the box. 168. Oh, that's right. I could not. Oh, yeah. That's okay. So you are actually unable to SSH to the box because the SSH is so old. on this Kioptrix box, I think it's from 2012, that it will not actually offer up a secure method by which you can do SSH. So unless you want to go in and modify a bunch of junk in your own SSH configs, I was not able to SSH to the box. Now, your mileage may vary. If you want to take the time to root all of these boxes and all of these things, you can definitely do so. But there's you have RPC bind on port 111, NetBIOS SSN's running on port 139, of course HTTPS, and KDM, which I'll have to figure out what KDM is. Oh, by the way, you should probably have taken the output of this, and actually there's better ways of doing that. There was a tons more. Actually, let's just go ahead and do that. Let's do -A and because that'll run some additional -A for those of you who are unaware. Let's go nmap documentation. All right, so nmap docs. So there's a bunch of different switches you can use. There we go. And as you can see, it's fairly well known port scanning basics. They show you the different ports here. Let me see. Host discovery. You can do -PN. You can disable host discovery. One of the ones I like doing is, I think one of them doesn't look up DNS hosts or something, and I had some issues with that as well. List scan. It's a degenerate form of host discovery. No port scan -SN. So don't do a port scan after host discovery. That's just if you wanted to see what's on the network. No ping, so it won't ping it to see if it's available. Sometimes if Nmap doesn't find the host or it doesn't respond to ping, it'll error out or it'll die. And that's because it's not responding to any ping. So it's dead in the water. It's a black hole kind of thing. I wonder what we're going to call black holes. Singularities. So if you don't want it to ping it first, it'll automatically just assume that the system is up and do all the scans and all the pings. Like I said, there was more than one way to discover the device on the network. You could have done an ARP scan looking for it to say, hey, I'm here, give me gateway. There's a ton of ways you could have done network discovery on that. Auto discovery was the deal, but so I'm going to click down here, Control-Shift-Z. I'm going to take a screenshot of that. That way I have that for later. You're going to okay, keep scrolling. All right, so that's a ton of stuff. Let's see, net. All right, so -A, I've got the IP address, so it's going to run a few more checks with the -A. Nmap. And there's a whole book that Gordon wrote. I actually, yeah, I'm like, my Fyodor number is like 2. I think I'm 2 people away from him. So I actually tried to, he lives up here, I think in the Seattle or Portland area. And I had asked him to see if he could come and speak at our InfoSec meetup, InfoSec campout, but he didn't get back to me. So, it is what it is. He's a busy guy. So, all right. So we learned a lot more about the machine from the -A because it did run some additional things. The great thing about Nmap, of course, is it has a scripting engine behind it, so you could actually write your own custom scripts if you wanted to. You can modify the existing scripts in there. There are probably some repos on how to, create your own scripts. The Nmap book I think is probably a pretty good one. I don't know how old it is, but let's see. If I remember correctly, it was, so it's, it's, I don't know if it's new. 4.8 star rating, 314 reviews as of February 2022. Okay, so they are updating this on a semi-regular basis. Oh, 2008. So the book is, what do I call it? Historical in nature, because there's probably a lot of changes that have happened to Nmap since probably 2.0 or whenever the hell this was written for. So, there's online version here. So anyway, what we've learned, other than that the ports were open, it did a connect scan. You can do things like half port scans, so you can, or half scans, half handshakes. So you can just have it send out, and depending on the reply that you get, Nmap is like the Swiss Army knife of network reconnaissance. I mean, you can do so much with it. I'm only like very much just scratching the surface on a lot of these things. So, so the -A will do things like also give you version information. So you find out it's running OpenSSH 2.9p2, which is an extremely old version. Matter of fact, the version that we have on Kali right now is like version 8.9 something. So that's just how old that is. So more often than not, there will be a few vulnerabilities in this, but there may also be vulnerabilities that didn't exist until like later versions that aren't in 2.9. So one of the things we're going to need to do to interrogate these boxes is to do searches on places like ExploitDB and elsewhere, looking for proof of concept code for vulnerabilities. Make no mistake, these boxes are well used, so there is exploit code for a lot of these things that are out there. So SSH host keys, they're using 1024-bit RSA and DSA. Those are deprecated, to say the least. Oh, it uses SSH v1. I'm almost certain that there's some SSH v1 vulnerabilities out there, or the crypto used in SSH v1 is old and busted. So you might have options there. Port 80 looks like we're running on Apache 1.320. It is Red Hat Linux, so that's Red Hat Enterprise Linux, not the old Red Hat Linux. Oh, Chad Noob, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for the subscription. Oh, I also wanted to mention somebody else the other day did a Prime subscription as well, I believe. Alt-Delete, I think. Yeah, there's a couple of folks who had used their Prime subscription. So thank you, Chad, for that, for the subscription. I appreciate that. Every little bit helps, So if you have any questions, please let us know. Let us, the royal we, if you will. So, there's a ton of options. Oh, oh my God. Okay. It's using oh man, 096B. Jesus, that, that's old. That is super old. I mean, 098 was like the version of OpenSSL I was trying to build Windows binaries for, and that was back in 2010. So this is almost it's very old version of OpenSSL. Very old. HTTP, of course. Title page, it says it's using the default title page for Red Hat Linux. So if we go to 192.168.164.128, there you go. All right, and then you see the test page. You can look at this. I mean, it is the test page, so there's nothing in here. There's no flags or no, hey, you should probably change the password of root to Bob, or from Bob to something else. It is pretty much de rigueur, the static Apache web page. And this is HTML before style sheets and stuff. So I mean, you're using H2 tags with align centers, and yeah, there's no style sheet in here. So. But there's also nothing of note in here on that page. You see GIF file, you see GIFs of various things when you go to the website. So you're just seeing that the document root. They do tell you etc http conf http the con files in etc httpd conf. Any subdirectories which existed there will be in var dub. So you do get a little idea of where things are located on the system, but it's not anything out of the ordinary. So you're gonna you can also find the Apache string here. This is gives you an idea of what version of Apache is running on the box. So historical information. So. Oh yeah, so if you've been watching and been with me on the stream for a while, a couple of the HTTP methods I mentioned were like track and trace. They do mention here that trace is an option for supported methods, head, options, and trace. So if that's, HTTP trace, there used to be a vulnerability that existed only in the minds of folks from Tenable. You could almost tell that it was an automated scan because they would automatically mention, oh, it's a trace method. It's not used so much anymore. It performs a message loop back test along the path to the target resource, providing a useful debugging mechanism. I wouldn't say it's deprecated. It's just I haven't seen a lot of. I don't know if normal web browsers still allow for it. I think it's probably been taken out. It's also called track or trace. So, but XST was a thing that it had to deal with. XST vulnerability. Yeah, cross-site tracing software attack, OWASP Foundation. So this involves the use of cross-site scripting and the trace or track HTTP methods. So the trace allows client to see what is being received at the other end of the request chain and use that data for diagnostic and testing information. Track method works in the same way, but is specific to Microsoft's IIS server. Yeah, so Jeremiah Grossman, I saw him talk at a couple conferences. Very smart person. This was back when cookie flags were the biggest thing that we worried about in web app security. HTTP only needs to be installed on these boxes or on all these cookies. So yeah, there's some discussion here on what track and trace and XST are. If anybody's interested. I have not seen track or trace or XST mentioned in years. So I don't know. I can't imagine that's still a thing, but they do have some examples here on how these things work. So as you can tell, OpenSSL 098R, I mean, that's old. I think they were up to like ZH before they finally deprecated 098. So that's how old these are. Apple Darwin 12, lib 724. Yeah. So, yeah, version patches. Yeah, I mean that shows you how old these things are. See, trace enabled, set draw off, because it's one of the best practices they would tell you is, oh, you need to make sure this is turned off to reduce XST, and then it just became, it's always off. We're not going to allow loop back and debugging, information or what have you. So there's a ton of information. HTTP only cookies, HTTP only and secure cookies were the big things that we always had to deal with at the time before app security became the real thing. So yeah, there's a lot of good information there. So, all right. So you got some RPC info stuff. RPC bind is a service that redirects the client to the proper port number so it can communicate with a requested service. So kind of like a DNS, but for ports. It's like if it sees a web request coming in, it'll send it to port 80 or port 444. Okay. Blink. There's another link to redhat.com. RPC-P. So there's a command we can run RPC info-P and we can see programs, ports, services, etc. The one thing you should also do with your Nmap scans is you should really output that to a file where you can grab it later instead of a simple spreadsheet. So there's dash O, I think. No matter how old I get, Nmap output O-O-N, that's what it is. O-N, yeah, I forget. So there's a number of different ways you can output, output given name, normal output, that's XML output if you need to parse it out. Script kiddie output, which is, I don't know if anybody actually uses it. Humor impaired people, yes. Greppable format, yes. I often like doing the OG format. So OG Kioptrix. Kioptrix 1 dot. Oh, I don't have to necessarily do that, but So what you'll see once we run this scan again. If anybody has any questions on all these tools, I'm sure a lot of this is going to be review. You know, ideally, people who decide to start on this in the future will be like, oh, I don't know what the hell's going on. So I'm just trying to keep it going this way. All right, so then we go more Kioptrix. And it's a hot mess, but you get to see the ports are open. You can format this in a nice way if you'd like. You can actually output all the formats. I think it's OA. Yeah, you can do OA and it'll output as a matter of convenience, where you'll get the Nmap, the XML, and the GNmap versions. And you can also increase the verbosity level up to V3. You go -VVV. Okay. And you can also see the host addresses up. All right, so we scroll back up here to the top. Your net BIOS name is unknown. Your user's unknown. So now that we've done our scan, one of the things that we can do is you can do RPC info. And as you can see, I've already ran that because I wanted to see what it would give me. So you see the different versions it's running here. You got port 111 running port mapper, 1024. It's using UDP and TCP. So you could do a UDP scan and find various things running on UDP ports if you wanted to wait forever for the scan to happen. And those are the services that are running on that system. So close that, and close that, and close that. Let me see, RPC info. There we go. These are the different switches you can use, different program version numbers, server address. So I did the -P, which the -P is the host name. So it's just looking for a specific host name. Different commands: RPC info -T, transport. T is required with the A option. Okay, so let's do a -TA. Oh, okay. Let's just run. Anyway, so we can go back through the RPC info stuff later. There are vulnerabilities in each one, I believe, in each one of these systems. The one that got the easiest for me, and it still worked the last time I remembered it, was the Apache one came up. There's also, let me see, what did I use? Back it up here. I tend to stick with ones that I know, which is mostly web and SSH and Samba in this case. So let's scroll back up here. Let's see. Where is it? All right, so we got SMB is running. Samba work group is my work group. You can actually query Samba to find out what version is running on the box. I think I actually did mod SSL 2.84. Let me see. Let me bring up my browser window. Which one did I pull? Samba. Okay, I did do the Samba one. Okay, so there was a remote buffer overflow, so you can go to let me see, where is it? 2.84. How did I interrogate the Samba version? I know I did that somehow. NetBIOS, Samba. Yeah, I did OpenLuck. I called it OpenLuck, but oh, Nikto, right? Okay, so the other thing you can do when you're interrogating systems is go use other tools, automated tools. They do mention the use of automated tools as earlier was okay. You can do that to a certain degree. There's a link up above from OffSec about that. So I used the Nikto instance that was here, but then I was like, well, I don't know if it's been updated anytime soon. So I actually went to the GitHub and downloaded the latest version of Nikto. Because I ran the update and it was like, oh, you can't update anymore. And I was like, oh, great. Well, I'll just go ahead and clone it myself. So I downloaded the latest version from Solo Nikto and then ran the program on the system. It'll give you some additional output. So let me go ahead and grab that. Copy. And then... Okay, I did not do that right, motherfucker. There we go. All right, you're a bastard. Nikto. And then... Why did that not work? Oh, it's another directory in that program. Yeah, CD program. Yeah, there it is. Okay. 128. So you can run it and it will give you a number of outputs. Some of this stuff I don't think is actually legit. Because I did go through and look at some of these items. Like they do mention the trace method is active, which is true. They're using OpenSSL 096B. Current version is 098ZC to give you some ideas how bad that is. I actually looked for the WordPress stuff, but I could not find it anywhere. I did try accessing the WP content themes directory. It did not work. They keep saying, oh, a PHP backdoor file manager was found, but I did not find that. I don't know why. I'm assuming Nikto has to be tuned in some way where it automatically assumes everything has WordPress on it. I could not find that. And then it asked about some bullshit over here with D-Link router remote command execution. I'm like, no, you know? So Nikto, this is one of those examples where automated tools are only as good as you understanding what the output looks like. So like e-tags. Okay, great. E-tags are in there. Whoop-de-doo. They mentioned XSS protection headers aren't set up, X content type options. These things probably weren't even a thing when this system was created. They do talk about Apache's out of date, mod SSL's outdated. Here's the allowed versions of allowed HTTP methods. Mod SSL. It's right there. So yeah, there's a number of things, including the vulnerabilities themselves. So let me see. Where did I? Wasn't the Samba? Was there something else I ran? Something else told me that Samba was out of date. I just don't remember what it was that I did. TPI. Nikto. Perl Nikto. Yeah, I had to run that. The problem was that what I used, which is this open FUCK, will not compile properly. So you actually have to go to another site who's fixed it so that it will actually compile. And you had to install libssl dev. People are so clever with their naming schemes and such. So how did I get that? Must have done something. Okay. Copy. Samba version. Yeah. Linux. Yeah. SMB status command. There we go. So if you want to interrogate the various items on there, you can do SMB status. Let me see if that exists on this box. SMB status. There it is right there. All right. You can do a dash, whoops, H. Oh, sudo. All right. Okay. I was having a bit of adult beverage last night. I may have knocked some brain plaque loose and remembered what I used the last time for this. So I do apologize for that. I do try to not cheat. Let me see. Interrogating. Yeah, so I did a search for this on OpenSSH, and there was a ton of issues here, including a couple of 10s in OpenSSH 231 to 33. 299 P2 through 33 allows for remote attackers to execute arbitrary code. I believe that was a non-starter because yes, the issue did not affect Red Hat Enterprise Linux or Red Hat Enterprise 3 or later because it was not compiled with an SKey or BSD auth format. So that one did not affect Open Red Hat. So I think I was... So the whole point of this is once you've figured out what port you're using, you're going to walk through the various versions to find out what vulnerabilities they might have. So off by one error, remote gain, I think that's privesc right there. Yeah, privilege, gain privileges. 0083. All right. 2000. That's how old this is. 2002. 0083. Exploit. DB. Okay. So here's an exploit channel off by one. Yes. Okay, so administrators should assume that this can be exploited without authentication and should patch vulnerable versions immediately, right? Yeah. Valid credentials are believed to be required. Oh, okay. So maintainer examination of the code suggests this, but not been confirmed by the maintainer. All right. So going to nmap Samba version SMB protocol script. There we go. Okay. All right. So we can run nmap. This was P139 script SMB protocols, and the target's 192.168.164.128. Right. All right, so the script is running. Of course, I didn't put a -v so that it's not verbose, the output. Okay, so yes, I know that's running. See, what I was hoping is it would give me all of these things here, but let's check port 445 then. I don't think 445 was running, but I could be wrong. I'm going to do -v. That way I can look at the output as it's happening. Yeah, see, it was closed. So Samba is not running, 445 is not running on the box. It was port 139. Sometimes you get more output by being more verbose. And sometimes you won't. What was that? What is the NetBIOS interrogator? Kali Linux NetBIOS NBT scan. That's right. Okay. I think the only I think what I did was I was like, oh yeah, I remember I used that the last time because it had a bit naughty word in it. So I was like, I remember that. So, which is bad because I should not be doing prior knowledge kind of stuff here. NBT scan. Okay, so it's already installed. All right, so NBT scan help. Oh, it's a Bob's Burgers thing. All right. So there's the output that you get from that. So we're going to scan the whole Class C network. We definitely don't want to do that. So we can do NBT scan R, sorry, 192, 168, 164, 128. Well, that's not helpful, is it? Let me see. Bandwidth, throttling, timeout. Dump packets, dump whole packets, verbose output. All right, so you get a little bit more here. You get Kioptrix, my group. Kali, Samba, remote version. Yes, I'm aware of that. SMB map. Right. Yeah, I'm not about to do that yet. I'll give it time. All right, so 168, 164, 128. Okay, what did I do wrong? Can you specify which port? Dash A pattern. List all drives on specified host. Right, I get that. Okay. Oops, there we go. All right. Mm-hmm. Ouch. All right, so I am right. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I was looking at my Slack, see if I left any notes there. So, all right, let me go back in. Where's Nikto? Run Nikto again. So we had, it was the mod SSL thing. Yeah. 0082. Oh, well, I'm one off. All right. Let's give that a shot. Okay. CVE 200200082. Where's exploit DB for that? There it is. That's okay. All right. That's it. Wasn't Samba that I was looking for. It was, and I apologize for the language here. Yeah, I was running remote buffer overflow on Apache mod SSL. All right. Yeah, I knew that I had run Nikto to find this. I thought, yeah, so I had run Nikto to find this information, but I was one off on my stuff. So anyway, so you download the exploit. The problem is when you download this exploit, the code won't run. I mean, it won't compile. So actually, I need to go to CD downloads, ls. So I downloaded 764C, which is what this is. So you download it, and you know the instructions they give you, and of course we're going to view it raw here. So they're saying, oh, it's been updated. Updated exploit is 47080. Open it in a new tab. I didn't actually open this in a new tab, but they might have updated it 2019. I don't know. Let me download this and see if this actually works. Save. Okay. So it's been downloaded. We're going to view raw on this. All right. So, okay. So I think this has actually been fixed. 764 was actually broke, and he had to go in and fix it. It looks like this might have been updated. You do have to apt-get install libssl dev, which I've already done. And then it's just gco lcrypto openf.c. So ls. Okay, so you gcc, because gcc has been installed, -o open luck 47, and then -l crypto. I'll be damned. Okay, so I didn't use the older version. I actually had to go and search for the older version and figure out what I needed to fix on 764 to run properly, and I got it to work in that. So now if you type let's see. So we got open luck. So we go, yeah, open luck. Oh, right. All right, so you do that, and it shows you all of the outputs that you need to run on this. This is version 304, root priv. Thank you, GoPro Slowyo. Appreciate the Prime Gaming subscription. Yeah, I forget sometimes to tell people, if you have a Prime account, which I think everybody does, or if they don't, you know, then that's fine. But you do get one free subscription every month to somebody. So if you decide you want to give it to somebody else, that's fine. But just that option is out there. So what they want you to do is use OpenLuck, target box, the port, and then CN. So the target is the supported box, EG by this. So what you need to do to go look for the offset is to go down here, and you need to find the Red Hat Linux version of Apache that is running the box. So 1.3.20. So there's two targets here that you can use. I will tell you, I was unable to get 06A to work. I tried it several times, as a matter of fact. 06B was obviously the better option. And so you scroll back up, and it's like the name or the IP of the box. So this would be the 128 address. SSL connections on port 443, and the number of open connections. So I think I set it to as high as 70, and it still worked, but 40 to 50 is fine. I mean, it does take a little finagling. And if you accidentally Control C, it doesn't work immediately again. You kind of have to wait. I actually rebooted the box because I was a little, it was like 11 o'clock at night. So I was like, I need to get this done, make it happen. So I actually rebooted the box and started everything over again. So we're going to do 6B. And Let me see. Scroll back up here. All right, so we're still on a fresh version of this. So, okay, so there we go. All right, so 6B, I'm using the IP address 192.168.164. Oh, hello, InfoSec Axiom. Don't worry, I'll have this up online. Due to my affiliate status, I have to wait 24 hours before I drop it onto YouTube. But if you, I think, follow and or subscribe, you should be able to get access to this. And I'm going to try to add some tags and things to this so that people, if they just want to do the OSCP related study group stuff, they can. If you don't want to see this actually work, Axiom, spoiler alert. I mean, I did mention to everybody, and I did have it on the overlay that is spoiler alert. But yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to run about 40 connections over port 443 to this. And what's going to happen is, and if you scroll down here, so what you see is there's an overwrite issue. So by adding so many numbers of connections or so many characters, you're going to cause a buffer overflow that's going to overwrite into the next chunk of memory. And therefore, if you have any experience with a left one, so, oh yeah, smashing. Yeah, there you go. Pretty much the seminal PDF for everybody reading, dealing with the things. It's still very prevalent today, even though it looks like it was written way back in the day. It is still very much similar. If you ever get a chance to read it, there's a link to the PDF if you'd like to read about smashing the stack for fun and profit from Aleph 1. Pretty seminal document if you'd like to take a look and read through that. So what we're going to do is we're going to send this bits to this target over 443 so many times. And by doing so, that's because it's case sensitive, you idiot. I shall fix this. I can fix it. All right. So what happens is it's going to run, establishing an SSL connection, spawning the shell. Ding, there's your shell. That's as easy as it takes. I've seen numerous, when I was doing this one originally, I saw a bunch of people using like Metasploit to do things with Samba. There are other ways of getting into this box. If you go, who am I? Oh, who am I? Okay, so it's Apache right now because it was unable to establish the SSL connection. I did get root shell on this because I was able to do that with the other one. Let me see, what did I do? You get a root shell because there's no, the fact that I got it on this, because it was unable to establish the SSL connection. The other thing that bothered me was it downloads something from, or it sends this information to a packet storm site, or I'm sorry, wget. It pulls something down and runs some additional bits on there, which I was unhappy with. Well, in this version of Linux, yes, it does run as a user Apache. Later versions, they added things like privilege separation, the www user, but in this is an ancient version of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. I'm going to Control C that. I'm going to run that again. I'm going to up it to 70. Because I know this ish worked. And it may die. So now it won't not work. Okay, let's try it one more time. The one thing I did find that the version that I actually compiled worked. I have not tried with this one, so that's not what I want. Okay, all right. Fuck it. we're going to use the version that I compiled with the old one because I know that works because I got the stuff. I got it from that. Not a J, idiot. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, so I actually this is the version that I built last night using the other one. So okay, I'm just dying inside. There we go. As you can see, this one's a little bit earlier version. Okay, so nobody touch anything. As you can see, what it says is the SSL connection worked. As you see, paste bin. It says connecting to paste bin, even though that's not exactly what it should be doing. Now, the other reason I natted everything up, and I did not actually know this at this time, it is making connections out to paste bin. I'm not exactly sure why, and if anybody wants to check this, please feel free to. What I'm hoping is that there's not a reverse shell coming back to my box, that somebody's created a paste bin of a C2, and I'm being owned as I speak. Somebody's trying to get in and hodl all my my bitcoins. Copy link address. If anybody would like to go check that out, I'm hoping that I'm not being completely boned here. So it's just going to this ptrace kmod local root exploit. So what happened was it went out to wget, grabbed this, and also compiled this in because for some reason it needed to do so, which allowed it to work. So it says now wait for the sewage shell. Now what we're seeing is it's injected the shell code in the memory here. It caught the signal, or waited for the signal. It caught the signal. The shell code was placed in the memory slot. Now it's waiting for the sewage shell. So what we have is we have a shell, but with no prompt. It's just sitting there waiting for things to happen. So if I go, who am I? I'm root for all intents and purposes. If I do ls, I get p, ls-l. Now, you can escalate this into a full shell. This is, GoPro, forgive me for being ignorant. This is not a full shell. It's more of what you would call a restricted shell, I would imagine. All I know is that I can run code on this and get various items, including what appears to be something called more P. Okay, so there's nothing in that. Cat P. I'm sorry. I'm 12 years old. I'm sorry. Anyway, so what you can do now that you are root, who am I? So, oh gods. Well, now I've backed myself into a corner here. By doing more P, I have... Okay, so who am I? Oh, crap. I'm going to have to run this again, and I really want to. Fuck. That's what you get for doing the more command on that thing. This is where I had issues with it not exactly working right. See, so now I get a permission denied. Okay, who am I? Now I'm root again. Won't be messing with anything. You can go cat Etsy shadow. All right, so I can see shadow. I'm root. This would be a great way for you to prove that you actually got root on the box. who am I, root, and then I can show Etsy shadow. It is restricted. It is not a full shell because there's no prompt. But so you see the two users on the box. You see John and Harold. There's a PCAP and a squid. So there's other things on here running, potentially squid. You got Postgres server potentially. You got FTP is a user on here, but it not necessarily is running. And here's root. So %1 or $1 means they're MD5 hashed passwords. I did try to run this through a decoder to see if I could get root's password, but it came up as nothing. Like it could not discern what that was. There's a MD5, there are MD5 decoders online for it, but I couldn't get anything to come up. Same thing for John and Harold. So lacking the ability to do that, what do? You change password, root. And I'm going to call root summer 2022. Summer 2022, and you can actually see it. It doesn't, do anything. All right, so now I have changed root's password, summer 2022, and by doing so, I can go in here and log in as root, summer 2022, and I am in. So there's that. Last login was from a 192.168.1.200. So whoever set this up the last time, Monday, October 12th, I don't know what the date was, 2011 or whatever. But that is one way of getting in to Kioptrix. That is one way. There are numerous walkthroughs where you can fire up Metasploit, and there's a Samba vulnerability, and there's other ways of getting in with like the NetBIOS stuff, and but it just shows that there's more than one way to get into these systems, and but this was the way that kind of worked for me because I remember it from being OpenPhysics. But there's a ton of so if you're using VMware and you're trapped inside the VM and you can't get out, you hit Control Alt at the same time and your mouse comes back. So but yeah, so OpenPhysics is what I use to, over the SSL connection. The version that I compiled from the original exploit appears to work better than the new version. I don't want to be Apache the user. I want to be root, which I still am root on that box. I can do whatever I want. I can change the password of Harold. And password of Harold is winter 2022. Winter 2022. I can log out and log back in, but I'm root now. So, if I wanted to create a foothold, I could add a new user. I could do a ton of stuff. Just a thought there though, that, not every exploit in ExploitDB works 100% of the time. As a matter of fact, MSO8067, one of my friends, he was like, yeah, it was great when it worked. When it didn't, it did things, MSO8067 for those of you, I want to make sure that everybody has their history lesson right now. MS-08067 was also known as, come on, click on the link. So this was one that was in 2000 XP and 2003, which are all deprecated, hopefully. It's not Eternal Blue. That was MS-17010, I think. What the hell is the name of that one? Son of a bitch. Yeah. MSO8067. I only know it as MSO8067, but other people called it something else. Was it Configure? Right, Configure. But yeah, so get your history lesson, y'all. If you are, what the hell? Okay, so that did not work as planned. There we go, TrustWave. Yeah, so Configure worked great when it didn't crash the service you were trying to exploit, which is one of the things. It was like the point of the proof of concept code worked, except when it didn't, you broke the system and people would know, and it was real noisy and everything. But yeah, I'm looking for feedback here. Do you want to go through Kioptrix again with a different vulnerability, or do you just want to continue moving on? Because for those of you who are watching, either lurking or otherwise, if you found value in what I was working on, and I did flail a little bit because I was trying to remember where I found OpenPhysics at, do you want to go through multiple ways of routing these boxes? Because some of these boxes do have more than one way to get in. And if it's where you're like, no, let's just keep on going, let's just hammer through all these boxes, I'm more than willing to do that too. But okay. So GoPro, you're no stranger to doing this stuff. What is your thoughts on the study group? I mean, if you are, if you have the time and on a weekend or something like that, having you here regularly, or being able to help others might be fun. Wow, it's already 6:30. Yeah, there's a lot of them. That's what I'm hoping. It's like the Lord of the Rings movies. There's a lot of them, and it's going to take a long time potentially to get through them. But ideally, we'll have a nice series of videos that people can go through if they want to follow along and understand and do this. I assume that that everybody has learned something today. Is any I'm sorry, what? Foot picks for sale. Okay. Yeah. It sounds very fortune. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, obviously this series is not going to be for those folks who are gainfully employed necessarily in InfoSec, unless they want to just, build out their skills or learn something, or maybe they already work as a consultant and they want to become an OSCP person. Or, you just want to hang out and run on some vulnerable VMs. What I'm hoping is that people will get the word out here. They found value in this and they want to, help others get, their OSCP for this. I'm going to actually probably broadcast this out to the Black Girls Hack Slack, because I think they were looking to start up something like this, or start up a CISP related one, So, it is 6:30. Let me make sure that Mr. Betcher and them have not been asking me if we're going to record tonight, because I have a podcast I also have to get out. I think I'm going to take some of my audio with Miss Berlin last week, 2 weeks ago, and put it out this week. But, hey, Mike Shudo, thank you for following. I appreciate that. I think I'm going to go get some dinner, because it's 6:30 here, and I think we're going to watch Death on the Nile. So, but if anybody has any other questions, you can feel free to hit our Discord up. Discord. The invite's right there if you want to hang out. We have moderation. We have a code of conduct and what have you. So, come and join us. Ooh, I should do a raid. That is a good idea. Is anybody on? Let me go see. I'm not good at this. I keep reminding myself I should do that, but I only have how many people? 5, and probably 2 of them are bots. So let me see. Who do we have? The only person I have that I follow online right now, Black Sheep Spicy. Okay. The only person I have that I follow online right now, Black Sheep Spicy. Okay. The only person I have that I follow online right now, Black Sheep Spicy. Okay. The only person I have that I follow online right now, Black Sheep Spicy. Okay. Black Sheep Spicy. Very cool. Okay. I will go and connect to them real quick. Follow. Okay. Very nice. All right. Let me go to video producer. As you can tell, I don't do this a lot. So let me go to channel. That's it. Channel, isn't it? Yep. Okay. All right, let me run a raid up in here.
Okay.
All right, let me run a raid up in here.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. I suck. I don't. Okay, what am I doing wrong here? Let me see. Settings. Nope. Video producer. No. Okay. What am I doing wrong here? Back to Twitch. Let me see. One of these days, I'm gonna understand enough of this. There we go. Okay, raid channel. There we go. Black sheep spicy. Okay, start raid. All right. We're gonna go and raid some people. 4, 5, maybe 6. Wow. Okay, we got 6 people. All right, 6 people ready to raid now. All right, everyone, have a good day. Take care. Be safe. Take care of yourselves, because the only you have. All right.